Now to Russia's war with Ukraine. Vladimir Putin appears to have avoided a full-blown mutiny after a former ally and his Wagner mercenary group turned on the Kremlin over the weekend and marched on Moscow. The Kremlin announced today it will give amnesty to the military group in return for their exile. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama spoke with a UC Berkeley expert on Russia about what the stunning insurrection could mean for Putin and his war in Ukraine. Jana.
Julie, it's unclear exactly where the head of that mercenary Wagner group is tonight, but under the deal, Evgeny Prigozhin has been exiled to Belarus, and his insurgency could have a big impact on the Russian front. Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a 5-minute speech at midnight Monday and called organizers of the military mercenary group's mutiny traitors. Putin's response came after a blatant challenge to his regime over the weekend. Evgeny Prigozhin, a longtime Putin ally, led his mercenary Wagner group from the battlefields in Ukraine to seize Russia's military headquarters in Rostov, and then marched 500 miles towards Moscow and called for an armed rebellion to oust Russia's defense minister and military leaders. Prigozhin issued an audio statement on social media.
The goal was to prevent the destruction of Wagner and to hold to account those who, with their unprofessional actions, made a huge amount of mistakes during the special military operation.
The Kremlin said they brokered a deal where Prigozhin and his soldiers will move to Belarus in exchange for amnesty.
Prigozhin and Putin go back a long way. They have, deep roots in St. Petersburg. This is not a liberal critic of the war, but this is somebody who understands, the political utility of violence. This is somebody who is not going to trust any reassurances that Putin offers him.
UC Berkeley Associate Professor of History Daniel Sargent is co-director of the Institute of International Studies. He says the bold opposition to Putin's nationalistic push for the war threatens to undermine his regime.
Prigozhin was very clear in his declaration that Putin's invasion had not been justified by any Ukrainian threat to Russia.
Sargent says Putin is facing increasing unrest among the Russian people as his war against Ukraine drags on.
I read 20% of Russians know somebody personally who has, died in the line of service.
President Biden and his administration said Monday that the U.S. and NATO had no part in the Wagner uprising.
They are listed as a transnational criminal organization. We have sanctioned them. The United States was not involved and would not get involved in these events, and that we view them as internal Russian matters.
Professor Sargent notes that Putin has mentioned Russia's nuclear capabilities multiple times during this war with Ukraine. But if Russia fractures, the fear is that the nuclear threat could become even more unpredictable. Ukraine's president, meantime, visited the front lines today of their offensive to retake land and is seeking to capitalize on the chaos now in Russia.
Jana Katsuyama live in the newsroom tonight. Thanks, Jana. And for the very latest on